years. While Abe was in juvie, the Shapiro brothers did nothing to help him, and they simply forgot about him, which kind of makes sense because they're fucking mob bosses, and he's some teenager who just does petty crimes. But Abe thought about this all the time and wanted revenge against the brothers. Like, he wanted a vendetta against them.
It bothered him.
Oh, very much. When he got out, he teamed up with friends and began working with Meyer Lansky, another name you recognize. He was a big-time crime boss in Brooklyn. And just a side note, one interesting thing I read about, like, we all know organized crime during the 20s, like fucking John Dillinger. You could be like, I'm John Dillinger and I just robbed a bank in my tuxedo. Wink, wink, finger guns, right? Like, they were very open about it. So one thing that I never knew was that in most other big cities that had, like Vegas and stuff, whatever, Pittsburgh, there was really, like, one main family who ran things. But in New York, there were multiple families. And that's why New York was kind of what we hear about the most. Because, like, in other cities where there was one family, there wasn't all these wars. Well, in New York, there's, like, the Al Capone and the this and the
so
that.
there's, like, rival families or families that, like, get in bed with one family and then another. Betray each other.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was really only in New York. And, like, in Brooklyn, in its own, had a bunch of different ones.
Wow.
Working with Meyer led to huge success, and they were starting to take over Brooklyn. Meyer Lansky had ties with Ben Bugsy Siegel, or Seagal.
Oh, yeah.
And Charlie Lucky Luciano.
Great name.
I know. Again, names that I recognize from movies. So he was set. Working with them was the best decision Abe could have made. They ran speakeasies, illegal gambling hubs. They even spread and had partners in Vegas and as far as London. So, like, this was fucking international.
International. I don't know how to do it.
All of the success obviously caught the attention of the Shapiro brothers because they were also operating in Brooklyn. But Abe had not forgotten them either. The brothers put Abe on their hit list, but of course, like, there's so many different families. Like, Abe knew he was on their hit list. So one night, Abe got a call from a friend, air quotes, who let him know that the Shapiros were leaving their headquarters and on the move, out in the open. So Abe and two other mobsters, mafia, because they're Italian, hopped in the car, ready to take down the brothers, but it was a trap. They were all shot, but none fatally. They walked right into a trap. So now he's more mad.
Yeah, I bet.
Then one of the... Oh, and I guess... I should have done it in the beginning. So the only trigger warning I have for this is, like, mob violence. I'm about to say, like, there was... I'm not going to say any details, but there was rape. But, like, literally the only trigger warning is, like, shit you'll see in a mob movie.
Okay.
Like... mob violence.
Yeah, we usually don't. Well, we never get super detailed.
All I was going to say is then one of the brothers kidnapped Abe's girlfriend, took her into a field, raped and beat her, and then sent her back to Abe, all bloody and bruised.
Oh, jeez. That freaks me out when people do crimes against someone's loved one to get back to them. Oh, that
Which
really
was
scares
huge in the mafia and the mob.
Yeah, just beat up a family member or something.
As you might imagine, Abe lost his shit.
Yeah.
So he enlisted the help of Murder, Inc., who I mentioned earlier. So now I'm going to take a little side step to explain Murder, Inc. They were basically an organized crime group operating from the 20s to the 40s.
Wow.
They essentially acted as the enforcement for the Italian-American mafia and the Jewish mob. So basically they were just a group of people who the mafia or the mob, if they were in their pocket, could call on them for contract killings. So that's why Murder, Inc. was contract killers.
Gonna be real. The name, not a great cover.
No. But that's the thing, is they acted so out in the open. Like, yeah, I'm in Murder, Inc.
Well,
what you gonna...
And a lot of those people, I'm in Murder, Inc. What you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
What you gonna do? I'm in Murder, Inc. But a lot of those mafia and mob and things like that were in bed with the cops, too. So it's like, they kind of knew it was...
corruption out the wazoo.
Yeah. That's my new Inc. name, Corruption Out the Wazoo.
They were originally ran by Louis Buchalter. I don't know. Then by Albert the Mad Hatter Anastasia, who I've heard of. What a great name. Albert the Mad Hatter Anastasia. Who was one of the most feared mob bosses of the time. Like, he was insane. And I'll talk more about him.
Mad Hatter, so...
Yeah. Murder, Inc. is believed to be responsible for anywhere between 400 and 1,000 contract killings until they were exposed in the 1940s, which I'll circle back to at the end.
When someone finally realized they were called Murder, Inc.
Murder, Inc. I wonder what they're doing.
What's murder?
They must be selling gum. At this point, obviously, no one gives a shit. But Abe did not care about being discreet. Mm-hmm. So he's going after the brothers, right?
Yeah.
With no fucking discretion. So first he goes after Irving Shapiro. He breaks into Irving's home, drags him outside, beats him almost to death in the middle of the street, and then shoots him multiple times to death.
Oh, so he dies, Irving.
Yes. 2 months later, he goes after Meyer Shapiro, who is the one who attacked his girlfriend. He approaches Meyer on the street, shoots him point blank in the face. Middle of the street.
Okay.
He gives no fucks.
No.
He goes after the third brother, William, but not until 3 years later. And I'm going to talk about what he did in between. But so 3 years after, he approaches William on the street, beats him almost to death, then places him in a sack, still alive, drives him to a remote field, and buries him alive.
Oh, that's like my greatest fear.
Yeah, and
okay,
they did yeah, and there was an autopsy later, and he was buried alive.
Do they know how long it took him to pass away? No, I guess he would have suffocated.
Yeah, he suffocated.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so scary.
So during this time, it's not like Abe was just he wasn't still doing petty crimes or like holding out waiting for the brothers.
The 3 years before he killed
yeah.
William?
Well, okay. Yeah, so while all this was going on, he was busy becoming one of the most brutal and feared hitmen to ever be associated with Murder, Inc. His weapon of choice for carrying out hits was an ice pick.
Oh! That's so messy.
This is about to get brutal.
Okay.
He would stab the victim through the ear with an ice pick, jamming it into their brain. Every time. Not like every once in a while. He was a brutal motherfucker.
That's a very strange, creative way to kill someone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that guy's messed up.
Yeah, he's a psycho. Through his years as a hitman, he got more and more violent.
Through his ears or through his years?
Through his years. He got more and more violent and less discreet, if you can believe it. So in one instance, he beat the shit out of a car wash attendant for failing to get a smudge out of his car.
Okay, he's taking this way too far.
Oh, yeah. He's not just a hitman. He's like, I fucking run things. I beat you up. I beat you up, too.
I hate that.
That was what he really sounded like.
Yeah.
Another time, he attacked a parking lot attendant for not fetching his car fast enough. It's like, I parked my car. You parked the car, you don't get it fast enough. I beat you up. I'm from Boston. You don't get my car with my car keys.
That's pretty
while I'm wearing my khakis. I kill you. And your mama.
I kill you.
By the age of 34, Abe had been arrested and released 42 times.
Oh.
6 of those for murder, but he clearly never served much time in jail.
I was going to say, how did he get out 6 times for murder?
Yeah. Because he's in bed with the cops. So now we're in the 1940s, where Abe is caught again for murder, finally facing serious time, which makes sense, because this is now we have the FBI. Now they're like actually, they're taking it seriously, and not corrupt cops are coming in to get people want shit to settle down now. It's been going on for far too long. He's facing serious time or possibly death. So Honest Abe becomes a government informant to save himself.
Wouldn't we all, though?
So this ties back to the Year of the Rat, because he starts ratting out people left and right.
Year of the Rat. That's 2020.
Honest Abe, Year of the Rat. So he first rats out his boss, Louis Buchalter, who I mentioned earlier, Louis, who ran Murder, Inc. for a while. So he tells authorities that Louis killed a candy store owner, and Louis is eventually put to death for this crime. But you can really see the difference, right? Because Abe went to jail 6 times for murder and got out. But now this guy's put to death for killing 1 person. Like, now they're taking it seriously.
Is this about the gum? Because that was so long ago.
No.
Good. I'm glad they're taking it seriously.
Then he ratted out, and I wrote all the names because I wanted their nicknames.
Yeah.
So then he rats out Harry Pittsburgh Phil Strauss, Harry Happy Mayoni, Frank the Dasher Abendando, and his old friend Martin Bugsy Goldstein. They were all convicted and eventually executed. Abe, surprisingly, you think the mafia or mob would immediately put a hit on him, but no one was really doing much so far about him being a rat. But then Abe turned on Albert the Mad Hatter Anastasia, who was a super high-ranking crime boss.
This all sounds like a video game, or like an app. Do you have this app on your phone, Crime Boss? What level are you, Mad Hatter?
Mad Hatter Anastasia. And then you go on to King Kong.
King Kong.
I couldn't think of anyone else. Abe told authorities that Albert the Mad Hatter killed a man named Pete Panto.
No nickname for Pete Panto.
No, he was just like a union worker. Not important.
You only get a fancy name if you're important.
Yeah. And the trial was set for November 12th, 1941. Abe's testimony was the only evidence. So he's gonna die. You already know that. So obviously, if Abe goes missing, Albert's gonna walk free. Foreshadowing, people, foreshadowing.
Funny how that works.
Albert has strong backing, including Frank Costello, which, if you've seen The Departed, Jack Nicholson played Frank Costello. Real person.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So you don't fucking mess with Jack Nicholson.
No.
Frank Sinatra. Like, he's not somebody to fuck with. And he backed Albert.
Okay.
So again, like you said, this person's in bed with this family and this family, and especially in New York.
New York.
On November 12th, 1941, the morning the trial was supposed to start, Abe is found dead outside the hotel he was staying at after falling out a window.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Most people think he was pushed. Some say he was trying to escape, but the way he landed points to him being pushed, like with some force.
It wasn't like him jumping out or something.
No, he was killed. And there's a rumor that Frank Costello paid $100,000 to the guards that were watching him to make them go, like, oh, just leave him alone for a little bit. He'll be safe. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Ugh. After this part's funny. So after this happened, good old Abe was given a new nickname. He was the canary who could sing but couldn't fly.
That's so mean.
It's so clever, though. So I have to ask, what would your mob nickname be? You'd be Sarah Party. What would you be?
Is there a quiz for it? Like your first pet and your whatever?
What would, if you got to pick?
That's a huge question.
I would be Caitlin Stegosaurus Sparks.
Stegosaurus? Why?
That's my favorite dinosaur.
I'd be... Ooh, I know.
Okay.
I'd be Sarah Axie Party.
Would you kill people with axes?
No, there was a woman, so
my X-axis and a Y-axis.
My family was really interested in tracing our like lineage and family tree, so I have names from like way back to like
cool.
the 1500s. One of the people in my ancestry a couple of generations ago was named Axie Parker, and she was just this like woman with high cheekbones, and she looks like kind of evil in all of her photos, but also striking. But she wasn't evil, but her name was Axie Parker, and I'm just like, I think that's the coolest
Sarah
name.
Axie Parker Party.
Yeah, Axie
I like
Party.
it.
And it sounds like kind of evil.
Mine would just be fucking... Now I want to rethink mine.
You're like, mine would be Christmas, because I like Christmas.
Okay, my other idea was Christmas tree. I was going to be Caitlin Christmas Tree Sparks. Come on. Charlie's was lucky.
That's true.
Abe's was Kid Twix.
Kid Twist.
I almost said Kid Twat.
Then you said Kid Twix. Like the candy.
Kid Twist.
It should have been bubblegum.
Yeah, well, he's a canary.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk really quick about a few other hitmen of the times and the methods of choice. I'm just going to give a quick rundown.
If it's not a nice pick, probably that's good.
So, Joseph the Animal Barboza always used a silenced pistol, but then he started getting into car bombs. Great.
He should have been Barbados Barboza, because that's hard to say.
He's the animal. Crazy Joe Gallo was called Crazy because he would recite, and this was in the 50s, so after they started making movies. Mm-hmm. So Crazy Joe Gallo was called Crazy because he would recite lines from mob movies when he killed people. And he is the possible killer. So another thing to note that you probably already know is almost all of these men are at some point killed by another mob, right? They take each other out. Like Abe died, he was 35 when he died.
Oh,
they're all pretty young. And like even Abe the Mad Hatter was eventually killed by a hitman. Like they're eventually taken out by their own people.
They're on each other's lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy Joe is possibly the killer of Albert Mad Hatter Anastasia. They can't prove it, but he's known as the killer, the hitman who took him out.
It sounds like other people have to give you your names, so you guys should give us our
names. Yes. Oh, you'd be Sarah Reptile.
Caitlin Alien. Caitlin
the Alien Box. Okay. John Scalise. He didn't have a nickname that I saw, but he was Al Capone's hitman.
Oh, hey.
And he's most notable, for being Al Capone's hitman, but he's a suspect in the infamous St. Valentine's Day massacre.
Oh, yeah.
Where 7 people were lined up in the street and gunned down by gangsters dressed up as cops. They think it was Al Capone's hitman and Al Capone's people.
Wow.
Timothy De Simone, who was played by Joe Pesci in Goodfellas.
Oh,
and if you've seen Goodfellas, you know this dude was crazy. He was known as a pure psychopath. He killed a lot of times out of impulse, which he does in Goodfellas. Joe Pesci, and that's eventually what gets him killed.
Yeah.
I fucking love Joe Pesci. And Goodfellas.
Me too.
And then one I think we've all heard of, Richard Iceman Kuklinski. And he was from 1950 to 88. He was one of the most infamous of all, believed to have killed over 200 men from 1950 to 88.